Welcome to another video from Life and Stories, where every story brings a piece of life closer to your heart. Today's story is powerful, emotional, and unforgettable. A personal reflection through the innocent eyes of a child who lived through one of the darkest days in modern history. Stay with us as we walk to the memory that shaped a generation. I was only 8 years old when the world changed forever. At that age, you don't think about tragedy. Your biggest worry is whether your favorite cartoon will come on TV or if you'll get extra time to play outside before dinner. For me, life was simple. We lived in a small apartment in Queens, New York. My dad worked long hours as a taxi driver. My mom stayed home with me and my little sister. Every morning smelled like coffee and toasted bread, and every night ended with a hum of traffic outside our window. September 11th, 2001 began just like any other school day. I remember the way the sun was spilling across our living room carpet and how I was annoyed because my shoelaces wouldn't tie right. My mom kissed my forehead and told me, "Don't worry, you'll learn." I had no idea that just an hour later, I would witness something no child should ever see. We were sitting in class when our teacher, Mrs. Thompson, suddenly froze. She had a phone pressed to her ear, her hand trembling. She didn't say anything at first. She just turned on the TV that hung in the corner of our classroom. And that's when we saw it, the first tower, burning. I didn't understand. None of US kids did. To me, it looked like something from a movie. Smoke pouring into the sky, people running, news anchors speaking in voices that were shaky and frightened. I remember whispering to the boy next to me, "Is this real?" He shrugged, but his face was pale. Then, live on TV, we watched the second plane hit. The classroom went silent, absolute silence. Some of the kids gasped, some started crying. And though I didn't fully understand, I knew something terrible was happening, something that would change everything. The school went into lockdown. Parents rushed to pick up their kids. I sat near the window, staring at the sky, which was suddenly filled with smoke instead of clouds. When my mom finally arrived, her face was wet with tears. She hugged me so tight I couldn't breathe. My little sister clung to her leg, not understanding why everyone was panicking. We walked home because the buses and subways were shut down. The streets were chaos, sirens screaming, people running, some covered in dust, others shouting names, searching for loved ones. I remember holding my mother's hand so tightly, afraid I might get lost in the crowd. From a distance, we could see the towers burning. And then they fell. Even as a child, I will never forget the sound. It wasn't just buildings collapsing. It was the sound of thousands of lives ending. It was the sound of a city breaking. That night, I couldn't sleep. I asked my mom over and over, "Why did the buildings fall? Why did the planes crash? Where's Dad?" Because my father, he was missing. He had been driving his taxi in Manhattan that morning. And when the towers fell, phone lines went down. Hours passed with no word. My mom tried calling, crying, praying. I sat by the window, hugging my sister, watching the smoke rising in the distance like a dark cloud swallowing the sky. Finally, just before midnight, the door opened. It was my dad, covered in dust, exhausted, but alive. He had seen everything. He had helped strangers escape. He had run when the towers came down, but he had come home. And that moment, for us, was everything. In the weeks that followed, everything changed. The city felt heavier. The adults whispered about war, about terrorism, about danger. Airports changed. Security changed. Life changed. But as a child, what I remember most was a sadness. Everywhere, pictures of missing loved ones taped on walls. Candles lit on sidewalks. Strangers hugging each other in the streets. I didn't understand politics. I didn't understand why someone would want to hurt us. All I understood was that my city, my home, had been hurt, and that so many kids like me didn't get to see their parents come home that night. Years have passed since then. I'm not that 8-year-old kid anymore. I've grown up, but I carry that day with me. I learned that life can change in an instant. That one ordinary morning can become the moment that defines a generation. I also learned about courage. My dad, covered in dust, helping strangers escape, firefighters rushing into towers they knew might fall, teachers holding children, keeping them calm while the world outside collapsed. And I learned about unity, how in the days after, people of every race, religion, and background came together. For once, we weren't divided. We were just human. Sometimes I wonder how that day shaped me. Maybe it made me more cautious. Maybe it made me grow up faster than I should have. But it also gave me perspective. Because even in tragedy, there is light. I was there. I saw the fear, the chaos, the smoke. But I also saw love. I saw strength. I saw resilience. And to this day, when I think of September 11th, I don't just think of destruction. I think of the way my mother held my hand, the way my father walked through the door, dusty but alive, the way a city, broken and bleeding, still stood tall. I was only a child when 9/11 happened, but the memory lives in me forever, not as a story of terror, but as a story of survival, of family, and a hope.